Get ready for the exciting showdown, the biggest news, the toughest competition, and the most thrilling moments. From the gridiron to hardwood, and from the pitch to the track. Join us for Sports Central, the most electrifying sports program on television, every weekday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on Spectrum Television. Sports Central, your home for sports.
Broadening your horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. They are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Record your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please call 0704 158 5642 or 0704 541 7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Good morning and welcome to Sports Central. It's bright and exciting Friday morning to be back in the show, and there are lots of exciting sporting stories for your listening pleasure in the world of sport. In the world of athletics, we have Chobi Amusen being confirmed for 100 meters hurdles at the Prefontaine Classic. Lots of other exclusive stories for you right here on Sports Central. Talk about football, where we have the Club World Cup getting to the round of 16. And exciting fixtures has been confirmed. And if you stick around on the flip side of the show, you'd find out. We'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, Sport Wrap Up kicks off. Thank you for sticking around. In the world of athletics, world record holder Chobi Amusen has been confirmed for the women's 100 meters hurdles at the 50th edition of the Prefontaine Classic, set to take place on Saturday, July 5th, 2025 at Hayward Field, Oregon, United States. The prestigious meet part of the Wanda Diamond League Series will feature an elite cast of athletes, with Amusen lining up in one of the most anticipated events of the day alongside reigning Olympic champion Masai Russell of the United States and world number one Jasmine Camacho Queen of Puerto Rico. Amusen's return to the Prefontaine Classic marks a symbolic homecoming as the Nigerian sprint queen set the current world record of 12.12 seconds on the same track during the 2022 World Athletic Championships. Still in athletics, Nigerian sprint stars Favor Ofili and Rosemary Chukuma have been confirmed for the 2025 ATX Sprint Classic scheduled for Saturday, June 28th at Southwestern University in Georgetown, Texas, where they will go head to head with some of the world's fastest sprinters in the women's 100 meters event. Ofili returns to track for the first time since making global headlines in May when she shattered the women's 150 meters world record at the Adidas Atlanta City Games with a blistering 15.85 seconds. The 22-year-old speedster, who also holds the Nigerian 200 meters record at 21.96 seconds, remains one of the most versatile and dominant forces in global sprinting. Her 100 meters season's best of 10.94 seconds makes her one to watch in Texas. Chukuma, on the other hand, enters the meet in red hot form. 23-year-old clinched a season's best of 11.03 seconds at the Star Athletic Sprint Series in Florida earlier this month, booking her spot at the 2025 World Championships in Tokyo. Back home in Nigeria in arm wrestling, in a bold display of readiness and growing momentum, the Nigerian Arm Wrestling Federation has officially released its 172-member team list for the 14th African Arm Wrestling Championship, scheduled to hold in Abuja from July the 23rd to 27th, 2025. The team, which includes elite male and female pullers, para-athletes, and youth prospects, was unveiled following an intensive national selection process. The athletes are now camped and undergoing final preparations at the TDC camp in Abuja, which will serve as the official pre-championship training, signaling the country's all-in commitment to hosting and dominating the continental showdown. The announcement comes just 29 days before the championship as anticipation rises across the grassroots sports community and Africa's growing arm wrestling circuit. Nigeria, a two-time host of the championship, is fielding its largest, featuring pullers from all 6 geopolitical zones unified by a combination of raw strength, technical finesse, and national pride. Now to the world of tennis, where in the ATP scene, Felix Auger-Aliassime maintained his perfect 2025 quarterfinal record on Thursday, which was yesterday at the Mallorca Championships, where he rallied past Hamad Medjovic 3-6, 6-1, 6-4 in 2 hours and 11 minutes. The second-seeded Canadian fended off 3 break points in the third set against the big-hitting Medjovic and gained the decisive break in the 9th game of the set to advance. The number 27 player in the ATP ranking holds a 7 wins and no loss record in tour-level quarterfinals this year and is level with Carlos Alcaraz for the most semifinals in 2025. Auger-Aliassime, a 2-time titleist this season, will aim to reach the 3rd grass court final of his career and first since 2021 when he meets Talon Griekspoor. The Dutchman Griekspoor, on the other hand, defeated champion Gabriel Dailo 6-4, 6-4 to advance to his 10th tour level semi-final and 3rd of the season. Now today, by exciting world of football, Ruud van Nistelrooy's long-expected departure as Leicester City manager has been confirmed more than 9 weeks after the Foxes were relegated from the Premier League. The 48-year-old Dutchman oversaw 19 defeats and managed just 5 wins from his 27 matches in charge of the East Midlands club last season. Leicester City's relegation was confirmed with 5 matches of the campaign remaining, but the former PSV Eindhoven boss saw out the season and held on to the job another month after it concluded. Former Everton and Burnley boss Sondage has been heavily teasing the Dutchman at the King Power Stadium before their return to England's second tier. First team coaching staff will oversee the start of Leicester's pre-season work, while the Foxes hierarchy look to bring a new boss in for the start of the new campaign, which they begin against Sheffield Wednesday on Sunday, the 10th of August. These are the stories we have for you on Sport Wrap Up this morning, but not to worry, we'll still be back on the flip side of things, and the guys will join the conversation for what promises to be an exciting conversation in the world of sports. Stick around.
Get ready for the exciting showdown.
Broadening your horizon. horizon is what every living being not only genuinely desires, but heartily pursues and intentionally invests in. For in the gathering of men, only those whose minds are in tune with the dynamics of the past, present, and future innovations, inventions, politics, and governance are respected. They are Spectrum Television, and broadening your horizon is our obsession. Press on your decoder now to connect Spectrum Television on the frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. That is frequency 12589, symbol rate 26250. Polarization horizontal, and join our online community at spectrumtvlive.ng. For further inquiries, please 158-5642 or 0704-541-7707. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Hello, good morning. Welcome to another exciting time. We talk about the best of stories in the world of sports. It is Sports Central. And my name is Vlad Kim. The guys are seated at the table of greatness are ready for the talking point around the world of sports. And as sports, therefore, we'll talk about it. Well, part of the conversation definitely will be the conclusion of the group stages of the Club World Cup. Big clubs taking center stage, and the smaller clubs are finding their way. African clubs, so back home definitely at the end of it. Mamelodi Sundowns tried the bit they could, finishing third in that group is that conversation. But Brazilian's club, she was standing tall, talking about the South American clubs like Argentine clubs. A bit of a struggle, but they gave that own fair share of energy at the tournament. It would be a conversation as Real Madrid themselves, Xavi Alonso, are showing that they could play a kind of faster football, and many Madrid fans are quite excited about it. It would be something to happen even further. We'll get to that point where we talk about it. Also, with extra the world taking place, a draw of the Wimbledon is out, and it will be to see where the superstars will feature and where they'll end at the end of it. Mr. David, good morning. So good to see you this morning. Valentina, similarly, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Blyden. I'm talking about Real Madrid. I think And I just think that comes with confidence when you start winning games right from the start, because it gives the team. That's what happened with Anti Flick. Started winning games, everyone thought, oh, it's going to end at some point, and they had a little momentary pause, but at the end of it, they got back to winning ways. So that's the same thing with Real Madrid. I'm looking at them. I just feel that they can go on with this particular momentum, because what I've seen Xabi Alonso doing that Real Madrid side, it's unprecedented. I've not seen it with the past 5 coaches of Real Madrid.
Well, unprecedented, but it's what the men would say it's your early days for Real Madrid. They're playing against smaller sides anyway, Salzburg, not the biggest of sides to really talk about it. A good celebration, beginning of the season, Xavi Alonso. Good morning.
Right.
So good to see you today.
Excellent time to return. Well, basically, some won't actually look at Xavi Alonso and feel he's done great. Yes, he set the momentum, set the tone for what we're expecting next season. But just like you said, they haven't met the teams they're supposed to meet during the regular season, maybe in the Champions League as well. But I think the last 16 and the semi-final and even the final give us the opportunity to look at this Real Madrid side and what Xabi Alonso brings to the table. A good win for them yesterday, setting the tone for the last 16.
Well, setting the tone for the last 16. We'll see what gets to happen at the end of it. But let's begin the conversation from the Bad Humbug tournament, the Humbug Open that's taking place, the world of tennis. Well, Iggy Swiatek and the likes of Jasmine Paulin set for Bad Humbug semi-final meetings that conversation. A 4th-seeded player, Iggy Swiatek in this one, against a 2nd-seeded player, Jasmine Paulin, a rematch of the 2024 Roland Garros title match race, and we're likely going to see Swiatek got the better of her opponent in this one. Talking about number 8-seeded Katerina Alexandrova, and while Paulin also Fantina defeated Beatrice Haddad of Brazil. 2 big superstars now getting to the critical stage of the semi-finals of the competition, and we're talking about Iggy Swiatek against Jasmine Paulin.
Well, 2 superstars who are having contrasted fortunes this season. Jasmine Paulini started on a very good note, alongside with the other Italians who actually, concluded the season on a high note and also started on a good note. Talking about likes of Yannick Sinner, Lorenzo Musetti, and all of them. But recently, she's found it difficult to keep up the momentum. As Swiatek, on the other hand, started poorly. That's why she's where she's at right now. Currently, I think world number 4, world number 5 thereabouts, and she's looking forward to seeing how she can reclaim that status as world number 1 and going back to be a dominant force. And I say this is where you start at a competition like the Bad Hamburg Open. She's currently seated number 4 in this particular tournament. It shows you that there are 3 players ahead of her. That's something that you would not expect from a player like Iggy Swiatek. Anytime she gets into the competition, either she's seated 1 or 2nd. But right now she's seated number 4. Shows you she has a lot of work to do. And against Paulini, I just want to put it at 50-50 now, because Paulini looking forward to rewrite her wrongs and seeing how she can set her season back on track, because it's gone a little bit downhill since the early success earlier in the season. But against Swiatek, this is her chance to prove that she can still play top tennis with the top superstars in the WTA rankings.
Well, if Swiatek can play top tennis with the top superstars at the WTA ranking, it's what having the same sentiment when Fontina. It's a 50-50 game against Paulin. Is it all about the ranking point or the quality of the player? Yes, you might say maybe she's not really engaged that much in competition comparatively to Jasmine Paulin. That's why she's dropped to the number 4. But comparatively, you look at 2 players, I think we get the better of in this one.
Well, I think head-to-head record favors Iggy Swiatek in this one. Their last 4 meetings definitely tells you that Iggy Swiatek have actually been quite a dominant force against Jasmine Paulini. So on paper, looks like Iggy Swiatek should actually take this one. But just like Fon with the fact that Iggy Swiatek, I think she's even struggled more than Jasmine Paulini in terms of how her stocks has fallen, and where we usually know Iggy Swiatek and where she is at the moment. So I think she should actually take this particular fixture against Jasmine Paulini seriously. If you look at the Bad Hamburg Open, I think since it started the competition up until now, this would be the very first biggest opponent she will be facing at the competition. So I believe that she will take this game seriously. Wimbledon around the corner, so this particular competition sets quite the momentum we're expecting from Iggy Swiatek to battle it out. Of course, show us what you've made of, and of course, also showcase that quality where we usually know before now. Not so top names are participating in here. Just yesterday, we were talking about Zabalenka training in Wimbledon alongside Yannick Sinner. So it certainly shows you that those top players, those who call themselves top, already, of course, having that momentum Iggy Swiatek is not having. So this competition should actually put her at that particular stage where we're expecting her to compete at top level. So going into this game against Jasmine Paulini, the book favors Iggy Swiatek. I still want to stick with her. I think she should take this one over the Italian.
Or toward everything, Iga Fianza will get a victory over the Italian in this one. And let's talk about the game at the Bad Homburg Open in Germany. It would be Jessica Pegula, the top-seeded player in this competition, against Navarro. At the end of it, something to really look at. The likes of Noskova had upset Andreva in Bad or Homburg. Well, let's talk about it then for the We've seen the progression of Jessica Pegula. She's a top-seeded open player in this competition. Got a better of fellow American Emma Navarro. 6-4, 1-6, 6-3 to advance to the semi-final. First winning since she won the credit won Charleston Open in April. On the other hand, Noskova also getting better over opening a third-seeded Mira Androva. So you're having Noskova that's beaten third-seeded player and now the top-seeded player against Noskova.
Well, I would say Jessica Pegula has been one of those firepowers when it comes to the American contingent this particular season. So she's last season she reached a career high of I think world number 3 or thereabout, and she held it for a very long period, and she's continued it this season, though not as consistent as last year. So beating Emma Navarro, I never saw it in doubt, because I just feel when you put the quality of both tennis superstars side by side, Emma Navarro, Jessica Pegula, you would always have a fondness for Jessica Pegula, because she's accomplished more than Emma Navarro. On the other hand, for Noskova beating Mira Andreeva, for me, it's not a surprise, because Mira Andreeva, since winning that particular competition, I think in March or thereabout, her hopes has really fallen. 17-year-old, so you can make excuses for her. Maybe she's finding it hard to play at that consistent level, but hopefully she gets to pick up the ball in days to come and in the forthcoming competitions, and see how she can compete with the very best. Because losing to a player like Noskova, I say that's really, really bad for Miriam Andreeva.
Well, losing to those global fights, I'm saying it's a bad thing, but one thing that's happening in sports is that there ought to be upsets and there ought to be that engaging, looking forward to what even happened even further. Another big challenge would be against Jessica Pegula for Noskova. And quickly, let's switch gear and talk about the Wimbledon Open. Set to happen, the draws open now. Everyone is looking at the draws from the men's category and the women's category. A part of the key conversation or shortcut we might see in this early part of the draw would be the likes of Krejcikova opening against Ella and Vondrousova against Arina Sabalenka in that path. But guys, I don't want us to dwell on the women's category except to really have a more intent in that direction. Yeah. But let's also put that side by side for Tina and put that side by side. Okay, today we will have to take the main side and Tina takes the women's side. So what's your outlook of the draw from Wimbledon?
Well, Krejcikova is the defending champion of Wimbledon, but she's missed the first 5 months of the year, so that's huge. So she's coming in as out here an underdog to a competition where she's the defending champion, because the onus is on her to prove that she still belongs. Well, I don't see her. She can defeat Ayla now, because when you look at Ayla, not really that top quality name, but at the end of it, a player who's missed the first 5 months of the year in the 6th month. So how is her level of preparation? Is always going to be that question. For Krejcikova, she has to dig deep to see how she can defend this champion. But trust me, I feel that ship has sailed.
All right, about Ella and all the big openings in this one. I think the biggest conversation would be the pathway of Vondrousova in the Sabalenka spot in the course of the tournament. Or from a men's point of view, well, it seemed to be another year when we look at Roland Garros, the way Novak Djokovic was beaten so easily by Yannick Sinner. A straight set victory at the end of it, despite the fact that Carlos Alcaraz ended up winning the Roland Garros. We're looking forward to another Grand Slam title, and many people are asking the big question: can Novak Djokovic even make it the grass court competition and make it a 23rd Grand Slam for him? Possibilities last year when it got to the final of the Olympics and got a bench of Carlos Alcaraz. We were like, well, he's still in the game, despite not winning any major last year. But this year, it's been that of struggle for him.
But very hard to, of course, to picture the man Novak Djokovic among the elite players at the moment being favorites for Wimbledon, because we've seen him lately how he's been struggling to even get into games. In games where you see him get into semi-finals, he falters, not really being able to break into the finals of major Grand Slam events, and it's becoming quite difficult for us to try to get used to the fact that Novak Djokovic's time at the ATP Tour level competition is rapidly winding down, rapidly coming to an end. But I think the conversation for me is not just basically about Novak Djokovic and how he progresses. I'm actually looking forward to see players who haven't really been in fine form in the last couple of years, maybe the last 2 years, do better. One of such names is the man Daniil Medvedev. In recent times, we've talked about him and his level of struggles, which has actually been more like something that has been in his face for a very long time. Whenever he
He's
gets
back in the top 10.
he's back in the top 10, but not good enough in terms of titles win. You're back in the top 10. How many titles have you won so far in the last 2 years comparatively to other players? I think that's a conversation. Alexander Zverev as well is another name I'm looking forward to at the Wimbledon. Another name I'm also looking forward to is Stefanos Tsitsipas. I mean, those are top names. Yes, basically in the top 10, you always find them. But how have they been? Yeah, they make competition.
Not really finding themselves.
Yeah, so
Alexander Zverev always getting so close, but
absolutely. I mean, last year he stayed in the top 4 for quite a long time. So it certainly shows you he's a top competitor. But titles has also been quite a big problem for the man in recent times.
So from what you're saying, it looks like we're looking at Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz.
Look, Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, no doubt about that. Those are rivals heading to the Wimbledon. But I just also want to see those names I've mentioned. And, give some level of stiff competitions to these two top competitors. Maybe we can actually see a different face in the final. If I see Alexander Zverev taking on Jannik Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, it brings something different as regards to what we always predict heading into big competitions like this, which is Carlos Alcaraz facing Jannik Sinner. It will be so competitive in that way.
Well, to David is saying if the guys get to the final, will be competitive, but we've seen it happen at the likes of Alexander Zverev, Danny Medvedev getting to the finals, we're not winning it, and it seems like same old, same old. Most important thing is notching the title. And recent times we've seen Carlos Alcaraz and Jannik Sinner sharing these titles among themselves. Well, quickly still within the world of tennis, with the Mallorca Championship that's taking place, Felix Joel last year, the Canadian international, has matched Carlos Alcaraz's record with Mallorca winning. The record is the very fact that he's not lost a game this year. Number 27 player in the ranking holds 7-0 record in the tour level quarterfinals. Rather, he's not lost in the quarterfinals on the level with Carlos Alcaraz for the most semifinals in 2025. Ojan last year, a two-time titleist this season, will be aiming to reach a third grass court final of his career and first since 2021 when he makes a talent great score. The ACMA maintains his perfect 2025 quarterfinal record, as I said earlier, when he rallied past Hamad Medvedev 3-6-6-1-6-4 in 2 hours and 11 minutes. The second-seeded Canadian finished on 3 break points in the third set against the big hitter in that direction. Well, quickly, let's conclude with the Nigerian international, the Prefontaine Classic. It would be about Toby Morrison joining Star Squad the 2025 Prefontaine Classic. Well, what are we expecting in this one? It's whether they're funny time.
Toby Morrison, of course, I think it will be quite the competition to look forward to. Off the back of a major event where she also maybe not break the record where she set before then, 12.12. Yeah, finished second, 12.12, second record. It looks like to take. No, I'm not talking about the last competition. I'm talking about the world record where she's goes up now. I'm looking at the fact that I'm talking about the fact that it will take some time. It will take some time to break that record once again. But I think engaging ourselves rather in some athletics event like this, as big as this, also expose her to so many top competitors. We're also talking about world number 1 also being part of this one as well. So it's quite good for her, and I'm looking forward to the competition as well.
Well, to reiterate what he said, I think this is going to be the the toughest meet she's going to be in, because the world number 1 is currently here, Camacho Queen, who's won a lot from Puerto Rico. So we also have an American there in the mix as well. Before we used to see her competing against Slovakians and all the other rest. No disrespect to them, but when you look at the quality of Toby Amusan, these ladies, she's miles ahead of them. So she's going to compete with the very best in the world. Let's see what she can do.
Well, let's see what she can do. Not only she might not make the podium anyway, from that stacks of superstars that Fontaine has mentioned, World Queen, are being part of it, and the rest of them, the Americans, and maybe we can talk about the Jamaicans. But while we'll go on a quick break, and when we're back, it will be all about football stories, looking at a talking point around a top walk-up in the world of transfers involving Nigerians, and one Nigerian in that regard, Paul Onocho, and hopefully joining in Prize of Sport. It will be a conversation, don't go anywhere. Is it better now? Mitchell? Welcome back at Sports Central. My name is Vlad Mutuba Devin Fonitina, still with us for company. Going nowhere. Now we're going to talk about football stories around the world. It is football, definitely, and football. Here we go. In the world of football, we'll begin a conversation from the world of transfer, and we'll start from a Nigerian point of view. It would be Paul Onocho, Nigerians, a striker who plays club football at Southampton. And we hear he's joined Trabzonspor. Well, it's better David. We've been following the track for Paul Onocho so far this season. Um, Remember some time ago, I can't remember exactly which year it was. He went to Trabzonspor on loan, I think a year before last, and performed quite well with them. And now Trabzonspor have come calling. Good relief for him. Good to go on permanent basis.
Very good deal, I must say, for the Macaulan watcher because, however I want to look at it, I think not all players are built for the English Premier League. It has been a terrible time with the Saints, especially since making that permanent move to the side. Look at his time outside England, first of all in Belgium. He was actually one of the best players over there, highest goal scorer in the league at some points. Since he moved to England, it has been back and forth in terms of form, in terms of consistency for him. The clubs are also playing to his strength. We also know how slow he is, especially as compared to the complexity of the English Premier League. So I think it's time Turkey was quite successful. And going back there isn't a bad option for me. Go right there for showcase what you can do. Dominate the league if you can. And you're better that way instead of staying at the English Premier League and not being good enough.
And not being good enough, not so good for him, Paul and Archer. But Football David says it's a good one for him to move to Trabzonspor. Quickly, let's talk about another Nigerian, somewhat somehow, Frank Onyeka. What it has to do with this transfer, not many people saw it coming. Last season, he was on loan in Germany, but he returned to the club. But the coach that was the coach of the side, Thomas Frank, and now moving from Hotspur after Ange Postecoglou left Tottenham Hotspur. And now there are complications about his staying at Brentford. We hear there are interest from three clubs of Burnley, Stuttgart, and Fiorentina for the 27-year-old Fiorentina. What next for this man? Stay put at Brentford. Any chance for him at Brentford? Maybe get to go. Three clubs who are looking at Burnley, Stuttgart, and Fiorentina. Maybe return to Germany to Stuttgart or go to Italy, Fiorentina.
Well, first of all, I would say I've followed football for quite a while now. There's something I've noticed when you have a manager who brought you from relegation, especially in a league like the Premier League, and he's done a lot for you. And look at the side, look at the names at the club, not really top them. So you have to, give it to the manager that it's the manager that's, contributing to 70% of the success. And now the manager has left the side. What is the guarantee that Brentford will still do? Or maybe we're talking about relegation for Brentford next season. So I would say for Frank Onyeka, I would just move to Germany because at Stuttgart, Angelo Stiller is really highly recommended by Xabi Alonso for Real Madrid. But it's still looking unlikely if the man would make the switch to Real Madrid. So he's being touted as a replacement for Angelo Stiller at Stuttgart. So if that move actually materializes, I would say it's a good move. Stuttgart last season was a powerhouse in Germany, finishing the top five of the Bundesliga. So it shows that they are a club who's always gonna, try to compete for the very highest honors in Germany. So for Onyeka, I would just say stay back in Germany.
Let's stay back in Germany. And Fiorentina said in that regard for Onyeka. Well, let's see what happens for him. Stuttgart is the opening for him. And the other conversation could be what happens if he goes to Fiorentina. Could it be a good fit for him too? Fiorentina always get to play European competition. I don't know what happened this season for them, but it's that conversation. Quickly, from a transfer point of view, now regarding the Nigerian Premier Football League, it would be the fact that Subaru is set to replace Mangat as Plateau United technical advisor. Well, Academy Warriors definitely. Somewhat former. What level of the Eagles now? Yeah. Under 20, yes, under 20, not under 17, under 20. Was trying to mix that up. Under 20 manager of the Eagles now, and Plateau United going there.
Well, I think Plateau United is a big club, bigger than of course his former football club, and I think at the moment it could be a right move for Leo Zaviro. He's actually of course up his stakes in terms of quality of the gaffer. Saw how he brought Bentley Insurance from relegation to the first of Nigerian football, and since returning from the NNL, they've actually cemented their sports for how many seasons now, still being a force to reckon with. And I think he's done a decent job. Maybe he felt like his time at the football club was gradually coming to an end, and he also deliberately resigned, left the post, and at some point many were actually thinking it's a case of trying to focus more on the Flying Eagles of Nigeria, their preparations for the FIFA under 20 World Cup. But now it looks like the man might just be looking at another MPF for a club side, which is Plateau United, the top club. Recall Fidelis Lechuc at some point was the manager of Plateau United, that in 2 seasons in time past, they finished runners-up in the league. So it certainly shows you they are not just a small football club. So a whole lot for him to do right there. Maybe it would be, of course, playing intermittently with the FIFA Under 20 World Cup, because the FIFA Under 20 World Cup comes, I think, later in September. The league will start in August. I don't know how he gets to fix that, but I think if he makes that permanent move, it would definitely mean the man has made progress in his managerial career.
Well, a good progress for the manager that we're talking about him in his managerial career. We get to see what happens even further for him in the world of football. But the most important part that concerns Nigerians, maybe he's trying to shape the mentality, just getting to do stuff before the World Cup proper comes for him with the Nigeria under 20 side. Let's see what happens. But for Nigerians, the interest is all about the Club World Cup. Not a Club World Cup, Under 20 World Cup. And now let's talk about a Club World Cup. We're definitely going there. Why? And that's why I'm shifting ground immediately. Well, Vinícius Júnior had to score a fantastic goal for Real Madrid and an assist in that regard. He said that was his best assist. Jude Bellingham hitting an assist also for them as they played against RB Salzburg. And the conversation even goes further as Real Madrid defeated Salzburg 3-0. Unfortunately, there are many things to say that this is Xabi Alonso's best performance with a side, the side of the Club World Cup, and it makes all the defense beginning to look like that Real Madrid, quite energetic moving forward. Vinícius Júnior bagging the man of the match award in 260 minutes. What's the name now? Gonzalo also scoring 2 goals. And how many assists? 3 goals in the competition. 3 goals so far in 260 minutes.
Well, I think for Real Madrid, they just keep getting better and better under Xabi Alonso. Their very first game against Al Hilal, the first half was nothing to write home about. In the press conference after that, Xabi Alonso said he never wanted to see that first half again. And since then, we've not seen that first half performance. The second game against was the team played against. They had a red card, Pachuca. They had a red card in the first half again very early, but still dominated that game and went on to win by 3 goals to 1. Now the third game against RB Salzburg, 3 goals to 0. It shows that this team just keeps getting better and better. And I would just say that maybe we're just going to see what happened with Barcelona under Hansi Flick, because this is how we started. A lot of people started saying early days. But you cannot just close your eyes to what's happening at Real Madrid right now. I think clubs definitely getting better.
The club definitely getting better. Just as we said, quite early days, no matter how you want to look at it, we've not entered the main competition. Maybe at the round of 16, we're going to talk about it even further. Well, to David, let's also look at one critical instance in this one. And that could be what's the other game that took place yesterday night? It had to be Al Hilal of Saudi Arabia getting a victory and qualifying for the next round of the competition against Pachuca.
Good stuff for in Al Hilal in this one. I never thought any Saudi team would definitely make it to the last 16, owing to the overall reaction of persons who, whenever they hear the Saudi Pro League and how the quality has been. Yes, it definitely shows they are the champions of the Saudi Pro League, and over time they've also recruited some top players to the side as well. But I still do not feel that the group stage of this particular competition can determine what exactly Al Hilal is made of. I think the round of 16 will also determine how they have been more tested in terms of quality of the opponent they'll be facing in the last 16. Or good confidence stuff for Al Hilal this one. Getting to the last 16 is no mean feat. I mean, we've had Atletico Madrid were knocked out at the group stage, so it doesn't downplay the very fact that they gave their all, and they're also a quality side. So I want to see how they progress from here. If they can make it to the semi-final, the quarter-final, it would be something delightful to look at from the Saudi Pro League champions. But I must say, they're improving day by day.
They're improving day by day. And one last conversation from a Club World Cup before we get to see the games that will be taking place in the round of 16. And we'll start early hours of tomorrow. Would be Juventus against Manchester City. Well, the City guys showed why the English Premier League superstar somehow. And Jeremy Doku opening the scoring for them, beating Juventus 5-2. Doku was the man of the match. Savino scoring his corner in that one. And Pep Guardiola's side, 3 victories at the end of it. A first win against Juventus since 1976. And that takes us to the teams that will be playing in the quarterfinals of it. We've seen the fixtures already. Juventus, it would be now round of 16 rather of the Club World Cup. We're talking about Palmeiras against Botafogo, Benfica against Chelsea tomorrow, Paris Saint-Germain against Inter Miami, Flamengo against Bayern Munich, and Inter Milan against Fluminense, and Manchester City against Al Hilal, and finally Real Madrid against Juventus, and Borussia Dortmund against Monterrey. Well, you've seen the first group stage of Infolitina getting to the quarterfinals, some thick games to take place to really look forward to. Well, two South American sides and Brazilian side facing each other now. Botafogo, Palmeiras, Benfica now against Chelsea. And this is the round we're looking forward to.
Well, Real Madrid against Juventus is the one to look out for.
All right.
For me, if you look at Real Madrid, just like we've talked about, they've not really faced top quality opponents. So let's say Juventus is going to be a step higher than what we've seen so far for Real Madrid in the group stages. So let's see what Xavi Alonso can do against Juventus.
And what Xavi Alonso can do against Juventus. For the conversation, we'll also talk about Paris Saint-Germain Inter Miami. Messi returning to his fourth, facing his former club. Well, Flamengos against Bayern Munich. Manchester City against Al Hilal, a Saudi top side. We'll see what happens at the end of it. And quickly, let's hit the world of transfers and talk about it as it unfolds even further. It is the big one. Cristiano Ronaldo, if you don't get to talk about it on transfer, maybe we just talk about this one and close. Cristiano Ronaldo, we hear, has extended his contract with El Nassr. Well, it was forthcoming on the conversation. Well, if you hear the details of this transfer, I don't know how to pay attention to it, but such details of it. But standout detail was he's going to have a stake about, I think, 15% stake in El Nassr as part of the ownership of it, an ambassador for them. I hear eSport also has made him as an ambassador, and he'll be earning about 1 million euros every day for Cristiano Ronaldo. This is the biggest brand in world football.
I like what was mentioned.
Well, today you shouldn't have words.
Classified this kind of thing, because a man who's at his 40s is still commanding such figures in terms of deals. So it definitely tells you it is not just basically about the quality he brings now, to the picture play, but definitely it talks about how big the brand CR7 is over time. So it's not just basically about the quality of Cristiano Ronaldo anymore. The man has built a brand over the years that whether or not he's still an active footballer, the name still speaks for himself. And it just takes my mind back to how we usually talk about hard work for the man Cristiano Ronaldo at the moment. Earning humongous amounts of money every single day. Whenever he scores, he also earns. Whenever he assists, he also earns.
Millions of euros. Absolutely. I'm trying to get the figures.
It's so incredible.
Time is fast spent.
I don't know what to classify, but it's quite a good deal for CR7.
Quite a good deal for CR7. Funny thing, he's affected the Saudi League. No wonder they're giving him all of this now. Having 15 workers to work for him, and the Saudi side is paying for them. I've given him a place where he can always park his private jets and he's not paying for it. All of these communicated in the deal, and we're talking about when he scores a goal becomes, if they win the Asian League, he earns about 8 million euros, and on and on and on and on. You can't count them. I see R7, what a brand.
Well, the brand is just big. It's bigger than any other footballer on the planet right now. No footballer comes close to the CR7 brand. Yeah. I'm not talking about the quality on the pitch. I'm saying off the pitch. So when you look at
you can't put the quality. What brings the brand is the quality.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Off the pitch now, there is no brand as big as CR7 from any footballer. So that's why he has this contract around us. So it's not just about what he brings to the field of play. Because recently we're talking about how he's declined, not really being able to run and all of that.
Well, it's not about recently anywhere for him. It's cumulative what he's done over the years that keeps the brand.
If it was about what he brought to the field of play, I think he would not have this contract.
Okay, we'll put it this way. What he has done, he's brought to the field over the years. Fantastic footballer. As we're set to close, let's see what we can do within the next 1 minute. Is the fact that Leicester are parting company with manager Van Nistelrooy. Quite expected anyway. Didn't really work out for Van Nistelrooy and Leicester City. Arsenal in talks to sign Valencia defender Mosquera. Well, from Valencia, started as a youth team in Valencia at the age of 12. Had his debut for Valencia, I think, 2022, but somehow, Arsenal having talks with the player. Well, Arsenal going up against Spurs for AZ, and Manchester United are exploring Zaire Emery move. Well, many conversations around it. Any bite from you as we close?
So I think I'm looking forward to, Manchester United. I do not know what happens now because Christian Eriksen finally said his goodbyes to the football club. So they need to bring the midfielders. Now, Zaire Emery being linked with, I don't know how serious that could be, but we're looking forward to see.
Looking forward to see. I do not think Paris would release him either. A young star from Paris, Lincoln, not being so phenomenal last season. But just as Manchester United a player is thinking about his buys, so are we thinking about the buys today. It's the conclusion of the week for us. And we draw the curtain in today's edition of Sports Central. Thank you for being a part of it. My name is Blyden Kim Fonitina. With David, thank you for being a part of it. Well, the week is thick and interesting. And next week could be another one. We say bye-bye.
Spectrum TV, broadening your horizon.